Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. Well, I skipped last week. We didn't do a show last week. Now I got a bunch of people saying, hey, where's the show? Did you stop it last year or what's going on? No, last week was my 26th wedding anniversary. And so I didn't work. My wife and I had a good time. So yeah, there's your answer, guys. That's why I didn't do the show. It was my anniversary. That's what I was doing. All right. Anyways, new year. Looking like we don't have as much inventory as I'd like to see. January usually starts our spring buying season. I am starting to see a little bit over list price coming some more. Like we had one the other day that I think they were asking 250 and they bid 270 something and lost. So I am starting to see that pick back up again. I don't know if we're going to have appraisal waivers like we did last spring, because those kind of slipped off. After about May or June of last year, I stopped seeing those appraisal waivers. I started seeing appraisal contingencies. Like if it doesn't appraise, we were going to come down. But I have stopped seeing those appraisal waivers. But some of these are cash. So I think that some of our inventory problems are there. We're going to have others. But right now, we've just got low inventory on top of higher demand because everybody's waiting for the feds to raise rate. Mortgage rates are already starting to rise. So we'll pay attention. Let's take a look at those inventory numbers for our two counties right now. Let's go. All right, if you've never seen the show, you don't know that I always start with this slide right here. It says if you have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, you have what's called a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 considered a seller's market. What the slide doesn't say is anything greater than 9 is a hyper buyers. Anything less than 3 is a hyper sellers. Let's start off in Escambia County like we always do, and we've went down. Since I shot it 2 weeks ago, we're down another 20 properties. 464 total properties. The luxury is still the only one that's sitting outside of the hyper sellers technically, but it's still 3.1. Would I change the marketing of this? Because when you do these, when I look at these and I find a property that's in a certain category, the marketing changed, the bid changed. So as a buyer, you need to know what category you're looking at. As a seller, you need to know what category you're listing at. You go back and watch when I started this show back in 2019, we had all of them. We had a buyer's market. There were certain price points that were hyper buyer's markets. We had neutral markets. We had sellers. We had hyper sellers. Okay, so I feel like it's a little bit of a broken record the last 18 months or so because it's almost all been hyper sellers. That will change. I'm hoping that we start to see some inventory this year, especially with rates starting to rise. But would I change right now the marketing strategy for a luxury? No. It's definitely still a hyper sellers. You have to get up to, $450,000 to have under 1.3 months worth of inventory, or over, excuse me. Then you got the 2 months worth of inventory between 450,000 and 600, and then we're back down to 1 point something, and then you have the luxury, and I think that's just because we're doing luxury lumped in. 700,000 plus, prices are rising. Here in the Panhandle, prices are rising, so some of that is just because of the way that we structure this slide. Let's jump over to Santa Rosa County and everything. We have 251 active properties right now. If you called me up and said I had a pre-approval letter, Shane, for $125,000, what can I buy as a first-time home buyer? I can send you all 8. All 8 of them, because that's all that's active. It's 8 properties. We got 11 under contract, and the absorption rate gives us a 1.1 months worth of inventory rate. We've got to start getting some inventory there. Look at this, 250,000 to 300,000, 0.3 months. And I pointed this out, I know a couple of times last year. Most everything is still selling 100% to 101% of list, if not higher. If not higher than list. A lot of my buyers right now, we're getting back to seeing some frustration where they're losing 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And I have an agent in my office that has written 14 contracts. And they've lost. They've all been over list, but they've lost. So part of it is price. Part of it is terms. Because some people, I met with a buyer or a potential buyer the other day, and they looked at me and said, okay, well, if we're going to offer them $5,000 over, they're going to pay for this and do 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 this and give me a roof. And I'm like, no, you're not going to get it. So please remember that all of this is not just price. Price is not everything. Price plays a major factor, but it's not everything. It's price and the terms. One of the things I've seen successful is making the terms extremely seller-friendly right now. That's one of the things that I have seen successful with getting my buyers under contract. So pay attention to both the price, pay attention to both the terms, and there's a lot of terms there. There are a lot of terms, and I have to kind of go over that when I'm talking with buyers. So if you decide to work with me or we start working together, I'll kind of go over those terms with you because there's a lot of them, and they are property per property. So it's kind of hard for me to put a generic out here on a show like this. It's kind of an overarching show. Instead, that's more property specific. So we'll just have to pay attention to that. All right, so I always end the show talking about our instant offer program. And what is our instant offer program? It is a program that I started last year. I started it last spring. Basically, it says, hey, if you inherited a property or you need a bunch of work on a property, or if you're just wanting to get rid of a property and you got to go, or you're wanting to find out a floor, what an investor would offer you, then you can give me a call. There's details below. There's a whole website that I built on how that works. All right. We can basically say, this is what we would offer you if we were to be, as an investment group, buying it. So these are what investors will offer you. Most people that I talked to used that as a floor and then listed with me trying to get higher. So now they know the floor, and if the floor is okay and we can still get higher and I just make you more money, you'll have to be mad at me. Sorry. Be mad at me for making you more money. All right. But you know the floor. I had some other people last year that, they came up and said, Shane, I need to be in Texas in 10 days. Okay. And I can't do anything to this property. I don't even want to show it. I don't want, what would make sense to me is what would an investor offer. We walked through it and I told them, hey, this is what would be deducted. This is what's going to happen. This is what we can offer. They were very happy with it. They literally told me, hey, that's about $20,000 more than I was expecting. Cool. And that means a win-win situation, which is always nice because some people go into these negotiations as a win-lose. They don't feel like they've won unless somebody else loses. When in actuality, there's a lot of win-win situations out there that can happen. So that instant offer program has served very, very well. Pay attention to it. Like I said, there's some details below. If you've got any questions, just reach out. I can answer them totally. We can just walk through it. It doesn't cost anything to talk, right? So that's been very successful. I plan on ramping that up even more this year. So the year has started. The year has started. Let's find out if January, like typical, becomes the kickoff of the spring buying season in here. I hope we get some more inventory soon. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. I'm a man on a mission. My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and don't need no permission. I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?